All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. A lot of feedback coming through. Let's read some of them before we change topics. And still, it's about the judiciary, but locally now, DCI Kinoti is in trouble. That's what they're saying, but we'll find out more. First of all, let's read what you're saying. Okelo Mwalimu, why revive the ICC cases at a time when the DP is busy chasing any plot that will give him sympathy votes? Whether or not the DP is criminally liable, the timing is a little bit unfortunate. Remember, politics is about perception. Okay. Ingela Nazaro says Kenyans are being treated to a crazy movie where DP operates government office technically from opposition side. DP demanding for the sacking of Chief Justice, DPP, DCI, and Interior CS, DP rocking his own government within. It's treasonable. Okay. Margaret Mutiso says the sole mandate of the election preparation, coordination, and organization lies with the IBC. Kama CJ ajui kazi yake, let her resign. Partridge says the ODM party seems very comfortable with IBC Kenya. They taunted for years before the handshake. IBC hasn't changed nevertheless. Tumutua, Gladys Wanga, UDA may be the hit by IBC, but ODM shall feel the pain more. Why is Martha Koome and Maraga wasn't there? I think that's what you're trying to say. Kent, why is the Chief Justice getting involved in the election planning? She should watch and wait for what will happen in 2022 as a referee. 2, the CS and PSs have already taken sides publicly on the 2022 question. How can they be impartial? Okay, let's shift gears here. And Governor Mutua, start us off on this one. So, people are saying Kinoti's jail term leaves DCI in a quandary. That's part of the dailies here. According to legal experts, Kinoti is exposed to a possible removal from state office. You saw what happened earlier on. He was ordered to give back the guns to Jimmy Wanjigi. He says he can't give them back because they're military grade. What does this say about these institutions that Kenyans are looking up to, the DCI and the judiciary, seeming to be now at loggerheads?
From what I've not really followed the case, but from what I know, it's an issue of contempt of court,
yes,
whereby an order was given, whereby you are supposed to return the said guns. If it was Kinoti, I would have returned the guns and then found a way of getting them back. But he puts in the defense that the guns that he's been told to return are illegally acquired weapons that should not be returned. But then there's also the quandary of the game that even the defense that we are hearing in court is as before. There was a lawyer who apparently forged his signature or forged a document pretending to be representing the director of criminal investigations. So it's a matter that is alive in court. So it's very, very hard to talk about it. We know that it's being heard today. So I would keep off myself from discussing it until it has been discussed. But it is an issue that is alive in court. So, as I said, it's not a matter that I'll be very comfortable talking about because there was a hearing yesterday. There is a hearing, I believe, today, whereby now it will be fully discussed and a judgment given.
Okay. Mweke, without even getting into the merits of the case, because that's when now we get into sub judice, it's about the institutions and what is expected of them and the perception that they're now at loggerheads. And also there's the issue of court orders just being ignored left, right, and center.
You know, if you read the book, Trevor, Why Nations Fail, it says nations fail because of 3 things. Institutions, institutions, institutions. If we don't strengthen our institutions and support them to work the way they're supposed to work, then we're going to get into trouble. The DCI is an institution in itself, and it has its mandate as per our constitution. And yes, it has the guns that it took from Jimmy Wanjigi. But the courts asked for those guns to be returned. Court is also an institution, and it has its mandate. Because it is not being obeyed, that's why you have seen it has taken this step to say, now let's go and arrest and jail the DCI. So I think if we just did what we are supposed to do as per the law, and if we strengthened our institutions and allowed them to do their work and obeyed them, especially the courts, the law, not just in Kenya, but all over the world, is what keeps a nation together.
Yeah.
And the moment you start breaking the law or disregarding the law, then the whole fabric of the nation can just scatter. And it's everything really we have. their law. So I'm very, very particular myself about the judiciary being respected, about court orders being obeyed, because without that institution called the judiciary, we won't have a country.
Yeah. A court orders, is this a breakdown of the law and order or some superiority contest going on? Because we've seen court orders. One of them is even Miguna. I mean, nothing has happened. They're there, but nothing is going on.
Yeah, I think I'm personally, you know, and Trevor, as you're saying, firm believers in the rule of law. And even Kinoti is a diligent officer of the law, actually. And if you look at the processes, even post the orders that have been issued for his imprisonment, he's pursuing the legal, you know, process, which means he's a believer in the rule of law.
Yeah.
But Kinoti has also said that these firearms are with you know, the firearms board, but nobody seems to be listening to that side of things. But Trevor, my concern on this matter is the fact that, you know, lately the judiciary seems to be hitting hard at everything executive. And you've looked at the pattern, you know, whether it's Badi, whether it's whether it's... I mean, there's been a series of judgments that you sit and wonder, really, where is the problem? And it even applied some time back to Parliament. So it seems like the judiciary should also introspect and look at whether we are having a judiciary that uses its power, or a tyranny of the judiciary that uses its power to, you know, pursue vendetta. After the issue of the judges, you realize that the judiciary became very fierce against the executive and against anything that the president is doing. And this thing on the DCI seems to be an extension of this pursuit of vendetta. I think the judiciary has the responsibility to appear as neutral as possible, and not to appear like, because of the judge issue or whatever other issue, we are now in pursuit of a certain vendetta against the executive, because then we will become like, you know, the judiciary, which we all hold in very, very high regard, because it is, I agree with DG Maker, that it is what holds our country together. You know, when there is nowhere else to go, we want to be able to go to the judiciary, but we want the judiciary not just to be fair, but also to be seen to be fair and not pursuing any specific vendetta. Okay.
Well, but where does the buck stop? Once the judiciary says something, should we just obey it and stop this superiority contest that we see?
Maybe just to directly answer you, Trevor, is that I think that's why we have the hierarchical continuity of the judicial system, and such that if a lower court then makes a decision, you have the right to move to the high court, which Kinoti did. You can move again to the appeal court and all the way up to the Supreme Court. I believe that that's one of the beauty of the judicial process, that at no one point until maybe when you reach the Supreme Court level would you be necessarily straight-jacketed, that you can't expound and find probably your voice being heard elsewhere. But something I want to say, Trevor, on this one. I was involved sometimes in the process of getting a license for a firearm, and then later on a variation of it. And I want to say this so that I can bring in an angle of what I heard Kinoti saying sometimes earlier, and probably something that has not been listened to or heard well by the judiciary. See, Trevor, when the DCI at his level is dealing with somebody who has firearms, he's dealing either with a person in two states. One, either you are a legally licensed firearm holder or you are an illegal firearms holder. And the law is clear on both sides how you deal with either of the two. Now, one of the angles that the DCI brought that I found important to listen to, and I hope that that finds the ears of the judiciary correctly, is that even after the Wanjigi saga, and I believe that to me sounded sensible, after the entire saga, the body which is entrusted to allow you to hold a firearm, which is the licensing body, the board itself, withdrew the license of the holder, that is Jimmy Wanjigi. And with all the goodness that you may want, and with all the goodwill, even if you are to apply goodwill, if the license at that level has been withdrawn, Trevor, then it means you cannot hold a firearm. And the first point of entry would be find peace with the legalizer, the body that allows you to hold the firearm. No matter, it doesn't matter the type. It could be a bazooka, it could be anything, you know. But first, you have to get to that entry point. And I believe that is a point at which the judiciary is able to see the angle within which Kinoti was operating from. Because I read in the newspaper how he was saying, even if he had those firearms on his table, if you do not have the license, he can't give you back because it would be illegal in the first place to give somebody. But then, without losing the discussion, Trevor, two things I must emphasize: that it is important as a country that we be a country that obeys court orders. That we have to emphasize. But then, I've been asking myself, and this we will also need to rethink ourselves in the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. Isn't it a high time that we had more harmonization of operations? Because at the end of the day, we are all government. You know, the judiciary, executive, the legislature, such that even at the point of coming up, for example, with how do you determine certain matters, as the government comprising of all the three, who are then supposed to give direction as to how do you run a country and run it properly, lawfully, legally, and so on, and have progress. So that you find in many cases the court would not find itself, and that's my thinking, that the court would not find itself in a quagmire whereby they have issued orders which are very prone to being disobeyed or unobeyed, either of the two terms you like. So that the court orders are easily obeyable, and they come out of a regime or a system whereby there is harmonization of that process. I'm not saying that you compromise justice by having, a discussed on outcome. But I believe that there has to be that harmony at the end of the day, because otherwise, you see, there's a way we can run country, and at the end of the day, you have outcomes or court orders that will even disrepute the court itself by finding most people not obeying court orders. So in this particular case, I think there has to be a lot of introspection. I personally, and that's my view, I do not agree with that kind of judgment whereby you'd be saying the DCI, based on this particular matter or those kind of circumstances, would be sent to jail. I believe there should be a better way to have this, dealt with, notwithstanding the fact that Jimmy Wanjigi has a right as a Kenyan to apply for a firearm and have his firearm anyway.
Governor Mutua, now it seems you are